Hello, scumbags. We are live and we are unleashed. We're two different things, unleashed and live, just like I'm sure plenty of musicians have boasted about being in the past at various concerts. I'm Andrew Fantasia, and he's James Rosile, and he's a dad, so he's busy, but he still is unleashed.
Making time for it.
Would you say that baby Rosile is also unleashed at the moment, James?
She's 100% unleashed. There's no doubting that. You're going to hear her in a second.
Oh, boy.
I'm trying to give her a bottle and I can't find one.
I should probably address the elephant in the room. And by elephant, I mean all the boxes behind me. I apologize for the mess. Our apartment is leaking. The people upstairs, their washing machine broke. And yesterday it was raining in the furnace room. So we had to move a bunch of stuff out here. So it's just out here until the plumber can come take a look at it.
Did it leak previously?
We had a leak in the main area. That was a couple of years ago. And this one was a big, fresh, more aggressive one last night. The joys of living beneath people.
That sounds weird.
Yeah.
If this was Dickens' time, you'd be meaning something else.
Right. Well, if this was Dickens' time, I would have had dysentery like 12 years ago, and I'd be dead. So.
Very true. Have you seen Spirited with Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds?
No, I don't have Apple TV Plus. I feel like that's one streamer too many. So I drew the line.
Tight. They're raising the price of it. I'm like, you're not. Come on, stop. So no, I was just wondering because there's a joke about that kind of in the movie, which I have seen. It's okay. I will say this before we talk about Andor. There is a Hallmark movie that debuted this year with the exact same plot as Spirited.
Oh my God.
And the weirdest part was Aaron and I watched that. We watched the Hallmark movies. We watched that Hallmark movie the day before we watched Spirited. So it was like, we're literally like, didn't we just watch it? Now Spirited is obviously a musical and higher production value, but yeah, it was it's like 80% the exact same movie.
Wow. I wonder what came first, the chicken or the egg?
Oh, definitely Spirited was shot first because Spirited took time, and Hallmark movies, they shoot them the week before they debut.
Yeah, I'd heard about that, and I'm like, wow, that is a rigorous schedule. But I guess, I mean, literally, what are they doing? They're having coffee. I'm talking about boys. So, yeah.
They don't have coffee, Andrew. They have hot cocoa.
I'm sorry. They have hot cocoa. They spill their coffee on each other. That's how they meet. Speaking of Hallmark movies, I told you, but for anybody listening, if you're not aware of this, there's a Hallmark movie with a Star War in it. Tia Sircar. What's it called? The Gingerbread Christmas or something? She's the main character. Sabine Wren leads the charge in this movie. And the guy who plays her father in that Hallmark movie
is Freddie Prinze Jr.
I wish. No, even better. He's one of my acting teachers from Humber College.
Yeah, that is better.
Yeah. So I just thought that means I'm totally canon, and that removes all arguments to the contrary.
Absolutely.
Pauline's in the chat. She says, good afternoon, and she wants to know how you are today, James.
I'm doing well, thanks.
He's feeding his spawn at the moment.
Not feeding it. I'm warming up the ball. I'm holding her in my arms, but she's quiet right now.
Yeah, she's very
quiet. Do you want to say hi? What do you think of Andor?
I thought it was good, but it didn't signify the real Star Wars experience for me.
Did you like Andor? She's about to do something. Well, let's talk about it a little bit because I talked to Brock last night about Andor. The whole 9. Oh, big yawn. You were bored. It bored you to tears, huh?
No.
I talked to Brock about it last night. Obviously, you heard some of that. You can check it out 265. But I haven't had a chance to talk to you about it yet. And I think we should.
Yeah, that finale, man. First of all, I need to get this out of the way before I forget. So, you know how way back in episode 3, Linus Mosk drops the first S-bomb in Star Wars?
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah, and the internet went, yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't help but think, James, I want to know if you agree with me, because we know what kind of writer Tony Gilroy is.
Happy effing Halloween.
Yeah. We know that there's these are edgy writers writing Andor, and we know that they're probably trying to push some boundaries. I have a feeling they tried to go a step further in this episode, and Disney kind of drew a line in the sand.
Maybe. Oh, here we go.
Oh,
She did not
Selena.
like that line. She did not like that line.
I'm sorry, Selena. But this is what I think might have happened. And I don't know if you guys agree with me or not. But when Marva has her big speech in her hologram, the speech ends with her very emphatically saying, with powerful emotion, with the music swelling, "Fight the Empire." And then the battle starts. What do you think the odds are, James, that originally Dan and Tony Gilroy had a different word in mind instead of fight, and somebody was like, you know what? No, let's not go there.
I like where your head's at, but I don't think that's the case. I think they probably, when they wrote fight, that's probably what they were using it as.
Yeah.
But they knew, I believe they asked kind of right away, like, what can we get away with? What's untouchable? Stuff like that. So, and the thing is, people made a big deal about the S word being said, but Han says hell, and not that they're the same word, but he says hell. So there are, like, I don't know. I think sometimes I think we focus too much on Carabas and what's the one that they use in The Mandalorian all the time?
Dank Farrik.
Dank Farrik. Yeah, like I think sometimes we obsess over those things too much, especially this.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, I think I don't want to go any further down the curse words than that one in Star Wars, because even though this one would bore kids to tears, I still think there's got to be a level of anybody can watch it at any time.
Yes, I agree. And I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, whether it's boring to them or not, they should be able to sit there and watch it in some capacity.
Right. It shouldn't become an inaccessible thing. And I've never been of the mind, and I'm still not of the mind where it's like, I'm not one of those people who's like, we want R-rated Star Wars. Let's make it dark. I'm like, I don't want that. But it felt like something was happening there because A, we know what kind of show Andor is because we've been watching it for months now. And B, I mean, if you were going to throw one F-bomb and only one in all of Star Wars media, in my opinion, just from a writer's point of view, that is a perfect way to do it, because that's really the whole mission statement of Star Wars is F the Empire. Mm-hmm. The moral of the entire story is dictatorship bad. So to make it that, it doesn't stray away from what Star Wars is, because it's still reinforcing their mission statement. So if they have to put one in, I hope it's in that context. But I'm not like sitting here wishing for them to do it. But God, that would have been funny to let Aunt Petunia just drop that bomb right before that.
Yeah, I don't think it would have gone over well with fans who are already upset over bricks and screws of this show.
Oh God, don't get me started. Maybe that was Iger's first thing when he came back, because he's like, let's get an F-bomb in Star Wars.
Do you know what's funny is our friend Sheldon, Sheldon, he's a huge Star Wars fan. And he has this thing like no zippers in Star Wars and stuff like that. He doesn't like any real world stuff in Star Wars. And was it Mando or Boba Fett? I think it was Boba Fett. He was trying to see more real world stuff in it, and it was kind of I don't know if it was taking him out necessarily, but he had opinions of it. So he ordered a jacket, an Andor jacket, Cassian Andor, the winter one from Rogue One. Mm-hmm. And I just kind of said, does it have a zipper? And a good laugh. But the point is, the thing is, everyone's making a big stink over the bricks and screw comment. But the reality is that in a large, and look, Sheldon's a big diehard fan. I don't think he's ever hated a Star Wars. But I'm shutting a door if you can hear that. So, but the thing is that idea of keep the real world out of Star Wars has always been there. It just now it was said by somebody who everybody likes to pick on because the biggest Star Wars YouTuber on the planet, right? So, I don't agree with that argument or that complaint, but a lot of people kind of do. And I honestly, Andrew, I think while bricks have obviously been in Star Wars and there's been screws in some level, I do think there's a spot, a point where it kind of needs to remain fantastical. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
I think, and you know, I'm a huge Book of Boba Fett fan. I'm its number one supporter. But I do think that one was starting to tread a little too close to home in a lot of areas, especially with the Mod Squad.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I just, anyway, I don't know why I decided to bring that up, but that's kind of how I felt about it. I as ridiculous as it is to complain about that stuff, people like a lot of a large portion of the fan base have been, and you know, it is what it is.
Well, I remember the cyborg mod people in Boba Fett kind of souring me just because not that I felt it didn't fit, but that I felt it was too far on the side of sci-fi for my liking. Like it was too far in Blade Runner territory.
Mm-hmm.
And Star Wars always kind of lived in a world where magic and sci-fi met and lived in harmony. So I didn't think
Yeah.
it didn't fit. I just thought like, well, that's a little bit. This is a part of the universe I'm not a huge fan of. You know, if I was writing a Star Wars, I would not have people modding stuff. I love the Skittles gang though.
Yeah, I do agree, but I also felt like George Lucas would probably go down this group because the thing is, Vader's a freaking cyborg, Grievous is like these are
Yeah,
things that happen in Star Wars. So it actually, when you like, and you know, it's like when you actually break it all down, it makes complete sense. And I just to put a button on this stupid topic, I think sometimes we take Star Wars a little too seriously, and honestly, I think all of us are guilty of at some point or another one point or another gatekeeping the IP in a lot of ways. Where if it's not what you foresee, what you think it should be, or your vision of Star Wars, then you're not going along with it. And I think that's something that we need to And the problem is because of the 40 plus years and the different medias of it, and everyone now has a different entry point in Star Wars. I think it's hard not to do that for anybody because that's just how we are, and it's unfortunate. But this is what's happened when George Lucas doesn't make a movie for 16 years, and then he doesn't make anything, for 5 after the last one, 7 after the next one, and then all of a sudden you come at us with one every year, and then these series, but in between we had all these books that they weren't canon, but to the people reading them they were. So everybody kind of owns a piece of Star Wars in a way, and they all feel like their opinion is the one that matters the most.
yeah, and it's unfortunate because gatekeeping it doesn't make us as fans look good, and it doesn't make the brand of Star Wars look good.
But and the thing is, sorry, Andrew, what pisses me off, what really annoys me, is everyone goes after certain people for like the gatekeeping in the comments. But the thing is, even the quote unquote positive ones, a lot of times do the same crap. Only they spin it in like the positive way, and they're kind of more on like the side of like I guess the majority, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's the same thing. It's like, wow, this is my Star Wars. I like it when Star Wars is like this. Like, stop it. Like you sound like a tool. Just enjoy what you enjoy.
Right. You have to separate your art and your love of art from the rest of the world and realize that it's not going to always be the same kind of love. But that's what makes art art. And if I say art one more time, I'm going to sound like a seal, so I'm going to stop.
Art.
But you mentioned books, and I'm sorry, but I got to beat this dead horse, and I'm going to keep beating this dead horse until Matt Martin and Pablo Hidalgo and Lee Lynchy listen to me. Because here's the thing, and I got a visual aid this time, everybody. Okay? Listen. This book is 77 pages. All right? It's not very thick, but it's 77 pages worth of stuff, worth of information that they were able to give us based on a movie that is less than 2.5 hours long. Considering how long just one season of Mandalorian is, or even just one season of Obi-Wan Kenobi, there's no excuse. You've got more than enough stuff to fill a book that would be much bigger than this. Where are the books? Where are they, Lucasfilm? What are you waiting for? If you're waiting for Mandalorian to end and you're waiting for Andor to end, fine. I can appreciate that. You're not going to double dip. You're just going to put out one book that covers the whole series. Fine. Where's our Obi-Wan book? Where's our Boba Fett book? What's going on?
Yeah, it's wild that they won't publish books. I don't know if they don't want to pay to do all the work on it, or they're just not profitable like they used to be. But it is wild to me that we're not seeing that at all.
And I know there was that whole stink that they put up about how one of these was coming out for Mando, and then the Gina Carano stuff happened, and whoops, we're canceling the book now. And
did it never come out?
Never came out.
That's
never came out. So again, I appreciate it if they're just holding out and they're going to say, you know, Mando is 5 planned seasons. So after 5 seasons, we will release one giant book instead of making you pay for a bunch of books. I can appreciate that. As a person who is trying to save money, I respect that. But I mean,
that's not what's happening.
No. And there's no word on Obi-Wan. That is done. So I don't understand. Somebody help me out. Pauline, Dale, why aren't these books here? You guys should have the answers. You're smart.
Like a lot of it's frustrating. Again, I really want that Saw Gerrera Black Series figure that they have, and it's like $45. I saw a Boba Fett figure. It was it's a Black Series 6-inch, and it was at Walmart, and it was from Mandalorian, where in season 2 of Mandalorian, where he's getting like his cloak and everything.
Yeah.
And it was $36. And I was like, I like $30 was hard enough. $20 was hard. $30 was hard enough. Now you're 35 and 40 and sometimes 45. I just can't justify that on a piece of plastic. Like it's really tough to do that. And I don't know, like I know inflation and all that stuff, but it just sometimes you make something a little bit cheaper. Maybe I'll buy 2 is really what they should look at. But maybe that's the thing with books is they'd have to price them too much. But the Mandalorian one's weird because it seemed like it was done and then they just stopped doing it. They're like, people hate Gina Carano. They're not going to buy it. I think they would still. They just rip those pages out or whatever. But I don't know. We're not getting anything there. Andor would be great to get stuff too because we got a lot of planets that we've never seen before.
Lots of planets, lots of people. Like everywhere he goes, every arc he has, he meets like 6 new people.
Yeah.
Right?
No, it's true. That it was a very unique show.
Very. And I mean, considering the fact that, like, okay, here's Rey. I know she's the main character, so it's kind of a bad example, but here's one person. She's got 4-page spread, man. That's one person. So the amount of stuff that they could put out on just, Kino Loy and that whole group of people in the prison, or even more interesting to me, the heist group, because they're like a ragtag assortment of folks, and they've all got stuff going on. So where is that? The whole ISB table, those are all people. They all have names. I really don't know.
You're never going to get. But I want to know your opinion of Andor finale. Let's go into the Andor finale. Your opinion as a whole, because I don't know if you heard what I said, but I really loved most of it, but I did a few things that I was kind of like I don't know, underwhelmed's the right word or not, but I was a little bit underwhelmed. And again, Andor's mom's death for me it felt so flat. For like, I feel like if I would have got to know, and I said this to Brock yesterday, I feel like I have to rewatch it again to see if there's any more hints to her dying. But I just felt they were like, oh yeah, she's dead. You're like, what? And I know you mentioned, maybe that's because Andor was off screen. And yeah, fine. But it didn't work for me. I felt it was a little flat. On a show that was like so perfect, that was one thing that was a little bit jarring for me. But what were your thoughts of the whole finale?
I think my overall thoughts are it was a really cool finale. I liked it. I liked
it was really 12. Good. Yeah, it was a very good episode. Don't get me wrong. It was. I loved it. Yeah.
It was powerful. It had a lot going on. It summed up the the mission statement of Star Wars. It summed it up perfectly. The Empire sucks. They've been stepping on us for too long. It's time to stand up and step back. And it just encapsulated that whole message so well. I thought it was a better half of because this finale was a two-parter, 11 and 12. I thought 12 was a better half than 11. Like 12 just put everything together.
They should have done. They should have put them. Okay, chill out, kid.
What happened? Is she okay? Oh, we lost audio. All right, so I'm gonna riff until James comes back. But the biggest takeaway that I have from the finale, and it's not a positive takeaway, but it's not a negative one either. It's just this is how I feel about that last episode. Is even though it was a big event that took place, like a big, harrowing, emotional event, something about the way all the characters leave off the last time you see them. If you're going by just the last time you see every major character, those moments that we leave them at, it feels more like you're ending just another episode than you're ending a season.
Yes. And that's what it and they're going to wait, and the next one's going to take place a year later. And
Yeah.
it absolutely feels the one thing with the show that I said is it felt like a binge watching show right the whole way through. I was saying that. And this episode just felt like another episode in the binge watching show.
Yeah. And it's, I don't know if this is accurate, and I hope it's not, because I would make this guy sad. I think it would make everybody sad. Why am I just pointing at me? But I heard that now the next season is not going to be next year, but it's going to be 2024.
Well, they're shooting it right now, so that would make sense.
Oh, that's sad. I thought they were shooting it back in the summer.
No, it was November.
Oh, man. I thought for some reason the first day that we got the first 3 episodes that Gilroy announced they were already starting season 2, and we got all excited. Maybe I'm thinking of something else.
No, I think you're thinking of something else because, they always said that it was going to be this time of the year.
Well, that's too bad. Pauline just said, I won't buy any books. I bought a comic book this summer that had Kylo Ren in it, but Pauline had the greatest typo ever. He called him Gylo Ren, and now that's all I'm ever going to call him from now on. Gylo Ren, his evil twin. He wears aqua instead of black.
I love it.
That's going to be the villain of Damon Lindelof's movie.
That'd be nice if they planned his movie.
Oh, it just got canceled. There we go.
Netflix would have canceled it already.
But it was overall a great finale to a great show. I don't think I have anything bad to say about it. Again, like that last thing wasn't a complaint. It was just like, oh, okay, so that's how this show is. It's not making a big deal of the fact that this is a finale in terms of where we leave the characters off. But man, does it ever give you what you want to see. And for the first time, most of the characters are all together in one spot. We still don't have Mothma. She's on Coruscant doing her own thing. But for the first time ever, you've got all your players. You've got Andor, and then you've got Daedra and Cyril and Linus. Yeah, Linus came back. And like Bix, Brasso, B2, Luthen, they're all converging in one area. And that is just, it always feels epic when that happens. I mean, even when it happened on something like Game of Thrones, where everybody's kind of separate, and then when everybody gets together, you know something big is going to go down. So in that regard, it had that epic feeling to it, and it felt important. It felt like something bad was going to go down. I was tense the whole time, even though I know Cassian's going to make it out alive. I was like, is this going to end really badly? But surprisingly enough, it ended on a positive note. It ended on hope. Marva's funeral gave everybody hope, and I was not expecting season 1 to end on hope. So that was a nice shock. Hope. Yeah, apparently, and bricks and screws.
Wow, you went there.
So that's how I feel about Andor. These episode 12, which I can't remember the name of it. Oh yeah, Rick's Road. It's called Rich
I
Road.
don't know the names of any episode.
Speaking of names, when I was looking up on Wikipedia, the name of the guy who rings the bell is
He has a name.
It's amazing. He doesn't have like a first and last name. He has like a title, his job title, and I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's something like the Time Slammer or the Time Crusher. It's something Time, and it's like the coolest sounding name. And because he's letting people know what time it is. When you hear that anvil, you know, hey, it's time to go home because Mama's Family is on. So that's another Black series that we'll never be getting. Is the Time Man.
Well, that's one thing that you bring up with Star Wars. Though, so they have all these characters. Star Wars are like, oh, why does this guy have a name? Because every single person in Star Wars has a name, and you won't hear it in the movies or on the shows, but they do have a name. And it'll appear at some point, and that's one thing that I love about Star Wars.
Yeah, and mostly it helps because you're gonna get a toy of that person, and the toy will say what their name is. That's why we know who Yak Face is. James, Pauline has a question. She wants to know if you think next year Mon Mothma will ditch her husband. And Dale says Time Grappler. Thank you, Dale. That's what the guy's name is. The
Time Grappler. Dale's like a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah.
Maybe Dale should take you on a trivia contest. How about that?
Ooh, hey Dale, you want an easy target? Here I am.
I thought that was very intriguing what they ended up doing with Mon Mothma, where we all thought that her husband Perrin was a douche, but really she was using him.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, that's my money. I'm gonna set you up. I'm gonna frame you. He's like, what are you talking about? I thought that was well played. It kind of added another layer to who Mon Mothma was as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up leaving her at some point. And also, he could just stick around. Who knows? He might just stick around and be in the picture. It might be one of those things where like they realize they actually do love each other and they stick with each other till the end.
Maybe, but I like the idea of her still not being, wanting nothing to do with Perrin. And the reason I like that is because of what she ended up doing at the end of the season. We were all speculating, hey, her daughter might end up being dead. There's a great reason for her to get even more knee deep into the rebellion and, have something to avenge. But now you talk about adding more complex layers. This is a different sad fate for the daughter, where in order to further her aims, secretly funding this rebellion, Mon Mothma had to essentially subject her daughter to the same unhappy fate that she herself has been subjected to. Mothma's not happy in this relationship. She's not thrilled that she had to marry Perrin, but that's Chandrilan custom. And you get the sense that she wanted something else and something better for her daughter, something her daughter would have, enjoyed more. But now she's just kind of throwing her under the same bus for the sake of this rebellion. That makes it even sadder because it's not like an outside force is coming in and messing up the family. It's Mon herself who's like, okay, if I want to save the galaxy, I basically have to just throw a thermal detonator into my own living room and mess up my whole family unit. My daughter's life has now changed against her will. And as far as I can tell, she wants that chauffeur to hear everything Perrin's talking about with this gambling thing, because she's trying to get Perrin in trouble for some reason too. So it's just, Mothma is the architect of her own pain, to quote Ernst Stavro Blofeld. And it's happening for a good cause, but you can see how much it hurts her to do that. And when we finally meet her in Return of the Jedi as this leader, like, damn, we know she has been through some stuff and she's had to sacrifice a lot for this rebellion.
Yeah, she did. And I think it shows another, so like I just said, though, another side to the rebels that, they're not all clean cut.
No.
They're not all good. And they fight on the side of good, or what they perceive as good, but yeah, it's the galaxy's filled with a lot of backstabbers.
Yeah, and I'll tell you who's especially not clean cut is Anto Krieger. You see that beard? That is the opposite of clean cut. That guy needs a Corellian razor.
They should do his Black Series, but flocked.
Yes. It'll release in Canada never. That it's coming.
Never.
It's coming to the United States Easter 2024, a year and a half after anybody cares.
Oh yeah, that's the way it goes, isn't it?
That's Hasbro. Yeah, Paulina's saying their hands are bloody too.
Oh yeah,
so-
everyone's hands are bloody, and it's it really, you really got to think like we know CCP is evil and everything, but like, are we so sure that Luthen's not evil? Like, who knows?
Well, who knows what kind of stuff Han got up to before he met Luke and Obi-Wan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Only
Exactly.
Chewbacca knows, and he ain't telling. And if he is telling, we can't understand him because none of us are Rey, and we can't speak Shiriwook.
Oh, speak for yourself.
Oh, Selena can speak Shiriwook.
She is right now.
Yeah.
What was that?
Pauline's
podcast?
asking if we ever buy any figures from the U.S. I usually don't, Paul. I don't think I ever have because it's more expensive for us because our dollar is worth less, and then the shipping on top of it. So we would end up paying at least $50 Canadian for a figure. So it would have to be something really substantial for me to cough that up. Usually what I do is I just the best place I can get them is at Fan Expo. When I went to Fan Expo this year, they were like 20, usually they vary from like 20 to 60 at Fan Expo, depending on what they were. But I got Moff Gideon, I got Ezra Bridger, and I got a Praetorian Guard. They were all $20. So there you go.
Nice. I bought Darth Maul Elite Series off of DisneyStore.com in the States. That's the only one I've ever bought, and that was because if you remember, I was collecting those like every 2 weeks. I came out with one at the Disney stores. So that one was the week before I found out about it, so I wasn't able to buy them at the store.
Mm-hmm.
So then I found them at the store like a month later. They had one, so I grabbed it. So I have two Darth Maul Elite Series. And that one, I bought it for whatever it was, $20 or whatever. And then they dinged me for duty at my door. And I was like, ugh.
Oh, duty. What does that even mean? Nobody's doing any work.
I had to pay almost more for duty than I did for the figure.
God, that's awful. Ugh.
Yeah.
And I mean, there are Cassian Andor Black Series. There's not many. There's one that's just like an Imperial trooper, like not even a stormtrooper, just like, I'm a trooper. I have like a black thing on my chest. That's at Toys R Us, but I mean, I don't want that. The only one that I've seen that exists is that Disneyland one, where it's Cassian and B2. God, that's pretty.
Yeah.
That is a pretty toy. Anybody going
Remember
to Disneyland?
C2P5?
Yes, I remember C2P5. Yeah. I always think of you when I think of C2P5 because you were like all over that droid.
I'm still like, well, that droid, they made a big deal about on the Star Wars show on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Then they came out with an Elite Series figure of that droid. And then in Battlefront, when they created the Scarif level, he was Krennic's like special move. Krennic like pulled out C2P5 and he had some like green smoke or something. So I'm like, I want to know. Obviously, it was cut from the movie, but I want to know how that droid was used in the original movie. Like obviously it serves some kind of purpose, and they removed that purpose. But I'm really curious about it.
See, and you know what would tell us that information? A DK visual dictionary.
Didn't they make a Rogue One DK book?
Oh, they did. And in fact, it was much thicker than this. The Rogue One book was juicy. There was a lot in there.
No
C2P5. I can actually check.
C2P5.
Hold on. Let me pop right over. It's not far away. All right. The Rogue One book was actually their nicest one that they made. Look
Really?
at that. Look at that. It is much thicker. And it's not even a much longer movie. In fact, they're probably around the same length. But let's see what we have to say about C2. By the way, we got Death Troopers in the finale, James, in the Andor finale.
They were in the trailer, but yeah, that was exciting to see. I love Death Troopers.
Daedra's got some Death
They were
Troopers.
like as effective as stormtroopers though in the show. So
I'm surprised they didn't take anybody out.
Hi, yeah, you too, huh? I know that's the thing. Is like stormtroopers were like effective. So what was the point of the Death Troopers? Like the one just got shot. I was like, what's the point of that? That was kind of my problem with it, you know. I don't really know what they're doing with them. I love it though. Don't get me wrong.
I like how they talk. They're just like,
how could you not?
Okay, so they are Empire. So yeah, I'm assuming they're in the chapter called the Empire. But let's see what we've got in terms of C2B5. Nope, nothing about him. Nothing about him. He was an astromech, right? Yep. Oh yeah, here he is, right here. Here you go, James. This is for you.
What
C2B5. It's just a little window there, and it says within the vault of the Scarif Citadel, astromech C2B5 patrols for maintenance needs and sweeps the computer network to probe for any electronic discrepancies. C2B5 is routinely memory wiped and lacks any sort of distinctive personality.
Interesting.
Uh-huh.
Pointless, it seems, but interesting.
Nothing about those books is pointless because now we know something about them we didn't know before.
That's very true.
So hopefully DK will get off their butt and talk to Lucasfilm and get something done. Because merch has been lacking. I mean, if you want to buy a Grogu anything, you're set for life. But other than that, when is the next celebration, James?
Oh, it's in England, I think in April, I want to say.
England. You know what else is in England? Half the cast of Andor, because this was a very British cast, so maybe there'll be a lot of Andor people there.
It was a very British show. Yeah, it was a very BBC feeling show.
Is Tony Gilroy British or is he American?
You put me on the spot. I don't know. Let's find out.
The Gilroys, I think they're British, but I could be wrong.
American. He's from New York. He's as British as they get.
American. Okay. All right. So, I mean, maybe they'll still show up. I mean, the show did gangbusters. I'm sure people would love to see them if they did a panel. But the funny thing is now, James, we're at the end of Andor. It's done. Nothing else has any solid release date, does it?
I think Mandalorian's February 23rd and Bad Batch is January 9th.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that. Okay. That's good. That's good. Yay. Okay. So those are coming fast. Those are coming very fast. I have to catch up on Bad Batch because that was like 7 years ago, so I don't remember the plot of that. But that's a nice back-to-back chunk of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Do you think we will see... Well, actually, let me rephrase this. And this question goes out to the chat as well. I'm not going to say, do you think we will see? I'm going to say, when do you think we will see our first instance of a planet or a character from Andor that was introduced in Andor crossing over into any other medium? When do you think that'll happen?
You're not asking me, right?
I'm asking everybody, including you.
Yeah. I think we're going to get crossovers, whether they like it or not. I don't know. When do you think?
See, if I'm going based on how Star Wars has been the past 2 years, I feel like it'll be really small. Like some High Republic book will make a passing reference to Ferrix.
Yeah.
But that's obviously not what I hope. I think
we'll definitely get a book that takes place on in Ferrix. Like they're definitely going to do something there.
Yeah, I can see them throwing out an adult novel for Ferrix. I would love to see. I'd love to see something like one of these Imperial people that we met, because we met so many of those Imperial officers. I'd love to see them show up in like a comic or something. Obviously, it'd be great if in Mandalorian we visit one of these planets, maybe. Also, I think sooner rather than later, we're going to see a different kind of B2 droid and see how they differ from each other.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
Mhm.
I like B2.
B2's amazing. The poor guy. He just wants his friend.
Because he
God.
survived to the end.
Oh, knowing
we're
this
all
show,
gonna,
yeah, I think
we're all gonna cry when it gets it. Yeah, you're already there.
yeah. Selena's like, I'm
cry.
already upset.
We're all gonna cry when he decides. Oh, he's not that dramatic. He's a fake. He's a puppet. Oh, she looks like I just ruined her day.
Oh no.
Why would you say that?
James, any final thoughts on Andor's finale as we wrap up our?
Yeah, I do, and I think it all comes down to what you said earlier, where that kind of felt like it just kind of led into the next episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really curious and intrigued to see where season 2 takes us.
Same here. Do you think they'll drop 3 at once like they did this time?
That's a good question, because every 3 is going to be a year, right? So you're dropping an entire year in Andor's life in one sitting, and then you're not going to do it every time. So why would you do it off the bat? So I don't know. It's a good question.
And you're right. I forgot about the whole year thing. And also, season 1 needed it because it needed to show the fans this is what our show is, because it took a long time to get to that point. So they didn't want to alienate people by just dropping that first one and having people be like, what is this? So maybe they don't need it. Maybe now they know everybody's chomping at the bit for the show, so they'll just drop one to get us thirsty. But I, for one, cannot wait for whenever the hell that comes out. And now that I know we got Bad Batch and Mando coming very soon, I'm a happy camper. But I'll be a happier camper if I can pitch a tent with a bunch of DK books. Just saying, story group, make it
Get on it.
happen. Yeah, seriously. We don't need Ronin, a Star Wars novel that's not based off anything, but Visions was fun, so let's write let's get more of these, please. Pretty please.
What a Visions. Anyway, whatever.
All right, James. Well, thank you for joining me as Andor ends with a bang. Selena, thank you for joining me. You are always unleashed. We're all a little unleashed. Pauline Dale, you're very unleashed. And James, you were always scum.
Fantasia Scum.
Hey, that's me.